There's a lot of certainty in the fan community right now for Resident Evil that 5 is definitely getting a remake. Although I'm not sure if Capcom has confirmed that yet. I'm still trying to figure out how to keep up with the news that I need for these types of videos. And while I believe that that is most likely the case, I'm wondering if we will be getting any info on that this year. Will Capcom be remaking old titles outside of Resident Evil? Of the possibilities that there are, I am kind of excited, about seeing them remake Dino Crisis. It would look so cool with the tools that they have now. I've read about the game a bit, and it sounds awesome. Anyway, I've heard that Resident Evil 9 has been in the works for some years now, and I was thinking about whether some of the remakes might be coming from a similar time frame, if they've been being put together for a while now, or if it's more of a recent decision. It's just kind of a question that popped in my head. And also, whether or not they will slow down the pace. Resident Evil has been coming out like almost every year now with the game, I think, like almost. I know I've mentioned before my personal opinion that 9 should come after the remakes, because I'm excited to see how they choose to go about it. I would like for any remakes to come out in chronological order, of course, but in keeping up with the main story, to go straight to 5 isn't a terrible story, I'm definitely intrigued to be able to play something like what was it called? Code Veronica as well. That one looks pretty cool. I want to be able to experience the newer versions of the games in order, because I still feel like I'm somewhat relatively new, sort of. Only really hearing about it and getting into it around 2019, and that was like 6 years ago, but it still feels pretty close. Also, while I don't think it's necessary to change the story, I have a hunch that if Capcom does change anything, it might be like minor details that could amount to something greater down the line for 9, and I would so love to have vague hints or like deeply hidden eggs of Easter that may not be truly understandable until 9. I think it would give it a cool aspect of replayability. This is about to get, kind of wacky from here, so, preposterous, so buckle up or whatever. 9 is a total mystery, as we know so far. Even from leakers who have been just about on the mark in the past, anything they say remains a rumor until proven when we see it or Capcom releases official announcements. And I want it to stay that way. I want to know absolutely nothing about 9, honestly, but I think it would be a total roller coaster that I would so enjoy if the characters in the game might end up feeling the same way to an extent. First, I kind of want to dive into how I think the main characters will be involved, because I love the idea that 9 is going all out, and that it could be chock full of names that we love, but they need to fit in. In the world of Resident Evil, they do, of course, but in a story as ambitious as 9 is hyping up to be, I just kind of wanted to theorize with some pointless details I made up, but that I also kind of really like. In 8, Chris is pleasantly surprised that BOWs are being used by the BSAA. He had a crucial role in the organization's formation. How would he not be privy to this information? Obviously didn't want to know. And he's had a crucial role in the last few games. Despite Ethan being the main character, Chris has been the one that tied the new story to the parts of the universe we were familiar with from previous games. He will obviously be there and maybe be the main protagonist. You could argue that he's just a field agent, and technical stuff and files and whatnot are more for a person suited to desk work, and that may be why he doesn't really know. So those types of things would kind of fall in line with someone like Rebecca. Rebecca works in line with the BSAA now, if I remember correctly, and she researches things like viruses and vaccines, as we've seen from her involvement in the movies. I would assume that if any of the mainline characters would ever come across or come close to discovering this hidden project, it would be her. So I believe that she might have a crucial role to play in 9 as well. In researching incidents and aiding those affected by bioterrorism, if any wind of this experiment got out beyond Chris's reach, regardless of how it got out there, leaked by anyone, I am sure Claire would be there. She's never been one to shy away from getting to the bottom of things related to anything remotely, related to the events of Raccoon City. I expect she will have a role in 9, and maybe we will get to see some aspects to her character over the years that get kind of glossed over in her later appearances in, like the films and the series. Jill has been shown to be back in action in the Death Island movie, which canonically takes place in 2015, which is 2 years before the events of 7. Her presence is scarce in the games as of late and has me wondering, is she taking it easy, or is she off on her own missions? Has she joined a separate organization? Could she be under the ever-watchful eyes of the BSAA mole that I discussed in my first theory video? She was infected by the Nemesis. Any mutations that happened would certainly fascinate the twisted mind of a villain who is seeking any connections that can be made with viruses to continue the experimental work of the likes of Spencer and Umbrella. While I do think that Death Island was majorly a piece of fan service, it does undoubtedly bring her back into the light, but only to a certain point though. Nothing was concluded, and I think it was left ambiguous for a reason, not just to create a semi-warm feeling ending of peace, but to avoid the question of, hey, this takes place years before where we're at in the game's story. Where is she now? I believe we will get some insight as to her workings in 9, and I suspect she is involved in any tracking of suspicious activity. Maybe not sharing details because she knows Chris will worry, and something that I really like to think about, maybe she has been off collaborating with a certain Umbrella operative that I know many fans would love to see return. Now, Leon will have to be there if everyone else is, right? But how will this fit in exactly? I can't ignore any details, so I'm just going over. He works for the DSO, or Division of Security Operations, a counter-bioterrorism organization under the authority of the United States federal government. The only time he has operated outside the United States was when his mission drew him out. And like the then president's daughter, Ashley Graham, taken to Spain. President Adam Benford was killed in an attack, and Leon pursued those responsible, or he went to the Eastern Slav Republic when researching the use of BOWs in active warfare. Either the events of 9 take it back home to the first few games' roots and something gets tied to maybe Umbrella and Raccoon City, or elsewhere in the States, or something goes floating around that gets enough, it's believed to be credible enough to dispatch an agent beyond the borders of normal jurisdiction. I would also love to see him return with a partner, another agent. I feel like this would be a cool time to see Helena, Angela back again, or even Ashley as an agent. I cannot be the only one who wants to see her as an agent. Are there any fellow fans of the newer version of Ashley? And although not necessarily a main character, I would love to see Sherry return as well. I think whether or not she would be sent on the mission or just end up going due to personal interest and investment. By that I mean she has a strong desire to make sure that no one ends up like her and goes through the nightmare of suffering and then being a science freak, essentially. I don't doubt she was and is watched carefully due to her infection with G. That's what I meant. Although she wouldn't be necessary, I just think that connecting to other side characters will put into perspective how large the problem is that some of us are kind of envisioning 9 might bring. If the game is named anything like the rumored title Apocalypse, I think a global scale connection would be great to see. Shiva or Sheva, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name, I haven't played 5 yet. She's BSAA as well, and maybe she could find her way back into the story somehow. Now, this is how they could fit into the story, but I was also talking about having, in a way, as clueless as they were when first experiencing the plot twist in Village. And I don't mean that they normally know everything, so this is the first time they're behind. No, I mean that it's the cryptic nature of details that they come to know that brings them in, kind of brings the story together. Of course, you don't know everything about each game when you first start it, but I was just like, it would be so cool if this one has like a stronger sense of, mystery, almost like how did we not see this coming sort of thing. But it's like, it's not going to be like so obvious when you look back. It's like little hidden details. That's what I was talking about, wanting to kind of see, like, you'll go back and play the remakes even after playing 9, just so you can like revisit details that you didn't know you could find or that didn't really make sense at the time. And that I just thought like that would be really cool. And aside from their own, employing organization's interest and duty, I want it to feel like the biggest mystery yet in all of Resident Evil. I know Capcom, with enough time and the right people, can make a story that keeps Resident Evil and the fans' interest and respect alive. And like how the Resident Evil 7 game and the Resident Evil 2 remake game created a wave of new fans by, kind of like invigorating the franchise's respectability and popularity, I am sure 9 can do the same. It's a big boat to set sail, it can drift on safely or it can sink horribly. It could entirely depend on your opinion. I don't love every decision in the Resident Evil franchise, but I do trust Capcom to know what they're doing. And who knows, maybe Resident Evil is just changing. Maybe through some good writing it can be unraveled to feel so natural to the original universe. Some people like to say that there's too much horror or too much action and it doesn't feel like true Resident Evil. But I want to ask something. What truly is Resident Evil? No one said the story and themes wouldn't mutate like the viruses they explore. From basic infectious reanimation to semi-intelligent controllable beings grown in a lab, to ancient parasites and plants, to successful mutations in a remote village. All from different viruses and creatures, whether in their unadulterated form, tweaked, or man-made. Resident Evil was never just one thing, and as the story continues on, the action needed to be taken against the horrors will continue to change and grow as well. Thanks for watching.